All right, so let's talk a little bit about consistency.
With life. With
Everything, right? So like that's one of the things I feel like for a lot of people is kind of underrated. It's like they want to do like maximal effort and it's just like short spurts. Whereas like if you just kind of do something all the time, it's going to make a way larger impact on your overall life. And so when it comes to measuring, tracking, working out, waking up, going to bed, weighing yourself, like all of the things that are going to be skills that you're going to be developing moving forward, it's a matter of being consistent with those things. Because with some of this stuff, doing it sometimes is basically the same as like doing it never. So,
or doing it like, let's give an example. All right. Human scale. You weigh yourself in the morning. And, you know, I weigh myself in the morning, I get one result. And then next day, I forget to weigh myself, so I weigh myself in the evening. Another result. Then the following day, weigh myself in the afternoon, another result. And so,
or
when you're not consistent, or forget. And so now you have not consistently weighed yourself at the exact same time. And so when you go to compare things or you want to make adjustments to things, they're not comparable. And so the results,
apples to apples.
It's not apples to apples. It's useless. You basically have done something and it's like, well, now there's no point in doing it because I can't even compare these things to do anything or make an adjustment.
But also, like, you don't necessarily want to split hairs and be all crazy. It doesn't have to be exact same time.
No.
It's you want to be in a similar state. So it's like, if it's right when you wake up or right when you're rested before you've eaten, like those are the types of things that's going to make a difference. The time of day won't matter. But making sure that, like, you're not 2 meals deep before you step on the scale, right? So like
got a full belly.
Yeah, so like those are the things that are like, don't wake up and drink a gallon of water and then step on the scale one day and then the next day don't do that.
Unless you do, like every single day. If you always drink a gallon of water, then and then you weigh yourself, like that's what you do.
So you just want to make sure that like everything leading up to that is as similar as it can be. That way it's like, all right, cool. I know that this measurement is always in this circumstance and now I can use it to move forward.
Yes. And then like when it comes to measuring and tracking your food, so when you are measuring, your protein. So for instance, some people like to measure it cooked, some people like to measure it raw, but when you're doing it, like always do it the same way. Because once again, like a raw measurement versus a cooked measurement is going to be completely different. And so if you always measure your food cooked, always measure your food.
There's no right or wrong way.
There's no right or wrong. When you come to like tracking your foods and your nutrition tracker, and you're picking like, oh, sometimes I pick this entry, sometimes I pick this entry, and it's the same food, like there might be different macros for that or different calories for that. And so then you're not necessarily consistently picking the same thing, and you might end up with a different amount of calories each day, even though you've eaten the same thing.
And it, like, realistically, it doesn't matter which is the right entry, because you'd be like, oh, this is the perfect rice entry, or this is the perfect egg white entry. Like, it doesn't really matter. As long as you use the same one all the time, because then you'll know, like, this is what my handful looks like, or, like, whatever. So it's like, all right, cool, you want to know, like, how you measure, not what's the right way to measure. So if it's like, all right, cooked meat or raw meat, if it's this entry, like, that's the right one for you, because that's the one you picked, and you're always going to, like,
the first year... And you always eat that? Like, that's what you always do?
The first year and a half we did this, we picked it, like, for her. Not for
there was this one entry, I was like, oh my god, it was romaine lettuce, and I'm like, there's, like, no calories in
it was, like, zero. She's like, oh, I can eat, like...
I can have so much.
Yeah, and then she was like, holy shit. But
they're still low, but...
She got amazing results using that measurement because she was consistently using it. So I was like, all right, cool. It doesn't really matter what the calories of the food that she
ate it on a daily basis. I consistently used that
and so
entry.
like when she established a baseline with that entry, she knew, all right, more or less would yield a certain effect, right? So if you're using this as a measure and you go up by 2 or 3 or 4, you'll see how your body will respond to that form of measure increased by that multiple.
And then when I noticed that I had done And I wanted to be more accurate in my approach because I wanted to increase variety into my diet. I was like, okay, let me pick the more appropriate entry so that I
Reset,
can,
new baseline.
Yes, reset.
Increase the skill.
Exactly, increase the skill set. But with anything, same thing like when it comes to fitness, consistently, working out the amount of times that you're going to do. It's all about consistency, and that is definitely a skill that will be developed with all of these things.